Here it is, the end for Escape From Tarkov is near, with Arena Breakout entering early access. I just got the notification, downloaded the game, and let me tell you, this game is gonna put the last nail in the coffin for Tarkov's shenanigans with being forever stuck in alpha, beta, and bringing up these excuses for lags and hackers and all this bullcrap. And here we are with a brand new game that already looks a lot more stable and refined than Tarkov ever did in all its years. The content of this video will show you first a little intro sequence as a tutorial that shows us already how familiar you are with this game when you played Tarkov before. Checking ammo state with Alt-T, for example, same combination. Interface, almost exactly the same. Searching for equipment and so on, right? You could argue there's a lot of cloning in here too, but it does make a transition easier for a Tarkov player towards this game, which I think many of us will be, right? Aside from that, in a minute I show you the highlights that I cut together from my first online raid with another player from deployment till extraction, also showing you the summary of the extraction, which is really cool. So we'll go into detail about that, as well as all the helpful tools that the game has, such as a map with extraction point markers or placing markers for your teammates and so on. I show you this, and I'm gonna have a look at the performance of the game, how it runs. The first impression of the game, aside from a familiar looking interface and all, is that the graphic looks spectacular and it runs incredibly smooth in the Unreal Engine here. And also the sound is pretty good as well. You know exactly where the shots are coming from. You know exactly what type of terrain you're walking on. You can hear footsteps extremely well and accurately, and that's also what gave away a couple of enemy locations in the online raid. I'm going to show you in just a second. I first want to show you also how I looted the SKS with that scope, and how I used it in the mission to snipe down a sniper who was on the other side of that cornfield. We'll get there in just a second, but here it starts to rain. And the more I went down there, the more muddy and the more darker it also became. So weather situations are changing within raids pretty drastically, and with that the visibility and the sound is changing too, so making out where enemies are gonna be a little more harder this way. Let me show you the next situation without commentary.
Probably.
Just look at the graphics, how muddy and wet the weapon looks as I'm checking the ammo that says it's less than half in the clips, similar to what Tarkov does when you press the same Alt-T combination, right? And I gotta say, I'm absolutely impressed by how the game runs in the Unreal Engine here, and that not just in this offline tutorial moment here, but also in the online raid, same thing, right? Next enemy encounter right here, pop, quick headshot, and gone. It will be very crucial for the success of Arena Breakout to see how they handle hackers, because that is a big problem that Tarkov had as an extraction shooter, where you bring all your valuable loot into the raid and you're dying to a guy literally auto-aiming you in the head, or running a live radar on a second screen, or having no recoil or whatever. You know, all these kind of things, speed hacking and so on, that stuff really killed Tarkov, together with a lot of other problems that the game has never been able to fix. Now, it will depend a little on that, on how successful Arena Breakout will become, but I'm having my hopes up that this game is gonna do things a little better on that front. But of course I'll keep you updated. By the way, this is Manny, in case you couldn't tell. If you like the content and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing. I do a lot of Star Citizen, but I also want to keep you up to date on some of the awesome extraction shooters, because that's what I've been playing a lot in my time, and what I always play. We're seeing the last few seconds of the tutorial here, where we storm this building, kill a couple of guys, and then an outro sequence begins that we can't skip, where our entire squad gets killed. Now, one thing first, I try to fit this M4 into my backpack, and I'm trying to do it in the way how I would do it in Tarkov. I realize it's too long, so let me try and remove the shaft of the weapon, or the stock, sorry, I mean the stock. And I couldn't do it, so I couldn't remove the stock from the SKS. Then I thought maybe I can make the M4 shorter, but as usual, also in Tarkov, you remove the stock and the shaft is still there, so you're not really changing the length of the weapon. So I was not really able to to fit the M4 into my backpack here. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of different backpacks available that has more size, a larger size, and also fits that weapon very well. Alternatively, I see right now that my AK that I'm holding in my hand seems to have a foldable stock. Probably I could have folded it and then fit the M4 in that slot instead. Now, we're going into our first online raid here, and as soon as you hit start, it takes a few seconds and a teammate is found that you go into the raid together. There's certainly going to be solo raids as well, I'm sure. I haven't tried all of that yet, but we're starting. It was like 15 seconds of loading time, and then I was in the match together with somebody else. So I'm hoping that the log-in times and the queuing times are way shorter than in Tarkov, because honestly that is also something that really annoyed me. Now you see the map here where we're starting. There are some points of interest with possible encounters of enemies and loot, and there is also the extraction markers. Now I was talking to my friend here by pressing Y, and I told him that he could do the same. He tried, but somehow his microphone wouldn't work. But we were sticking together and operating as a team throughout the whole raid, so that was pretty awesome. Now, let's talk performance. You should know I'm running this on a high-end gaming laptop, the Scar 18 with a 1490 graphics card, so super good hardware, but it is still a laptop. You can't see the entire screen here because this 240Hz panel has a 16:10 aspect ratio in QHD. Now I'm overlapping displaying the top of the screen that you can see in the 16:9 video, showing the 140 smooth FPS with a super well optimized game, drawing the maximum wattage from the GPU with 170 watts and a 62 plus watts still on the CPU. Immensely well optimized running game. I heard an enemy running around here, and there he is. I'm assuming that this may have been some kind of scav thing here, an NPC perhaps, but it could have been a player, I'm not really sure, but I got him down so quick he couldn't really do much there. Looting his weapon as well, which is again I believe an SKS coming out here, sweet, but without the scope this time. So what I was gonna say, I love how freaking awesomely optimized the game runs. You're getting so many FPS, and it seems like I'm always sticking at exactly 140 FPS. Almost makes me think that perhaps I could achieve way more, but it's like locked at that stage because it wouldn't really move much if we look at the top. Also temps are pretty good for that, right? I mean, on a laptop temps are always going to be a bit higher, but yeah, it's running stable and perfectly awesome, and that is something I can definitely not say from Tarkov. Sorry, I've played Tarkov literally from its first playable phase, and performance issues have always been a major drawback of the game. Factory ran great, and also without pixelated edges, but most other maps didn't, and it took a long time to get a little better in that regard. But yeah, here we're seeing a from the looks of it, almost perfectly refined running game, right? It's the Unreal Engine. I mean, we know how awesome that engine runs. And anyways, enough with the performance. My buddy just took out one guy in the next yard over there, and he's going over there walking, leaning left and right. Pretty funny. He's gonna lay down, make himself a smaller target while he's looting, which takes a bit of time. Definitely smart and advisable. I'm pretty sure this guy's also been playing Tarkov before, same as me. So, yeah, and there's always something to find that you can loot. In every building, every vehicle, around every corner, you can loot something. And typically you can find so much more than you can even carry, so at some point you may even just want to go towards the extraction point instead of keeping on looting, unless you still have so much room, right? But it even said it's dangerous here, be on your guard. I'm not sure why it says that, and if it would say that every time, but we're entering one of those red circles on the map that showed a higher possibility of encountering an enemy, and also, you know, probably having more valuable loot. Then we made it to the second last part on the map, which is a beautiful lake here next to some kind of, I don't know, trading center, it says, and yeah, I didn't like that part because it was very open and exposed. Anybody playing Tarkov will know that this is typically the area where you'll face the enemies laying in wait for you. And so I ran over here trying to have the highest cover I could find. And at the other side, I did hear a step. I wonder if maybe you can hear it too. When the moment comes, I'm going to be quiet. But I heard a little step here. Did you hear it? You see my message coming up where I talked to the guy. You can't hear me, but I told him I heard something. And so he was also a little more careful. I was extremely careful, coming around the corner, checking every corner, because I know I heard a step over here. And here it is. Alright, so we got them all three. In the end screen, in summary, you can even see a timeline of what happened during the raid. And you'll see that I got all 3 kills here. Yeah. Let's place a marker on the map and show my buddy where I want to go. See, you open the map and you can place it with right click, and it even will say in the left that I placed a marker that he can then check where it is and see. You know, it doesn't show up in the middle of nowhere on your screen, but it does show up on the map. And that is very helpful for coordinating and team play, you know. Also having a tiny marker showing your friend. I mean, how many times have I gotten killed in Tarkov by a teammate or killed a teammate because, you know, we didn't know if this is you and you don't have the time to check because you gotta shoot. If you don't, the enemy is gonna kill you. And all this, yeah, it may be realistic that you have no markers, but it is still a game to a certain point. You don't have the level of feeling and that you will have in real life. So there have to be some kind of helpful elements, such as a tiny marker showing your teammate, you know. And I appreciate the fact that this is here. It is listening to the community that has been requesting this in Tarkov for a long time. Same as a map that shows the extraction marker, not forcing you to open a second map on a second screen, you know, and looking it up there, having a wiki open or some nonsense. Why all that, you know? In real life, you would also have a map of the area you're going into, you know, into battle. You will have already some extraction markers for you laid out where you need to go. And yeah, so definitely a good element that those are here. My buddy was still looting this place a little more. I'm assuming he had more leftover room in his backpack. I was already pretty full. Found a big toolbox stuff. I'm not sure exactly what to do with it, but you'll be able to sell all excess loot that you found, make it into money, and then buy equipment, meds, and guns, ammo, and so on from that, right? It has meanwhile turned into a sunny raid again, and the graphics again, man, it looks phenomenal. I really love the looks on that, and I think I'll be playing the living heck out of that game going forward, and I'll be covering some more of that content with you as well. So we're making it to the extraction zone. You can already see it marked in red. I was saying goodbye to my friend here in the voice comms, which again you can't hear, yeah, so that's it. Let me show you the summary, because that's really amazing how they give you that little timeline, and also the loot value that you got. They calculate this instantly. It was a perfect raid, 4 eliminations, and here you see the loot, you know, and then you can see that timeline to the right. I'll show you a combat history, where you can basically navigate through every major event that happened, and it shows you on the map your walking path together with where which event happened, and so you can analyze a raid. You can see an eliminated enemy in 7.6, 7.7, and 7.9. So in like 3 seconds, I killed 3 guys right there. Yeah, pretty awesome raid. Tell me what you think about Arena Breakout, guys. I think this game is going to be the end of Tarkov, or at least it's the upgraded version of it that will be very heavily played. Here you see Linus Tech. It reminds me of him, I don't know why. But yeah, when I saw this face, I was like, hey, Linus, how's it going, buddy? But yeah, so let me know what you think about the game. Want to see more? Stay tuned if you do, and Manny signing off. Bye-bye, my friends.